I'm Jim Daigle. I've lived on this property for 40 years. My wife and I celebrated our 50th anniversary last year, and I'm ready to cut back finally. Here's a hosta that I want to show you that it's called Lakeside Paisley Print. It's just a beautiful hosta. And right here, you can see how well it's doing. It's considered probably a small, large to a medium size one. Up along here are daylilies, all different kinds of them. Some of them are pretty spectacular, like this little beauty. Here's some purple ones. I really like these red ones. They're a dark, deep red. And so on. Coming over here is one of the sun gardens. This is one of those hydrangea Pinky Winky. This is some helenium, and I think it's blooming early this year. And things that have gone by, I've got to go completely through this garden again to deadhead everything and pull out plants I don't want in there anymore. This is another really special one here. Up here, this is one of the Heliopsis, and I think personally it's the best one. It stays like this, and if you deadhead, it can last 6 weeks or more. But you have to be very good at deadheading, because what is the purpose of plants? Not just feeding humans, but to produce seeds. And if don't deadhead them, they will produce seeds, and then they'll stop flowering. Same thing goes for the Shasta daisies. Here's another little compact one. There's one daylily up here. You see, this daylily up here is especially I have a collection of coleus, probably about 35 different varieties, and I especially like some of them. This one I'm seeing is getting too much sun, so I'll have to take that out and put one that can take the sun better. There's no plant that will refuse morning sun. They all need some sun or very bright shade. However, up here, looks like a mess. However, these were filled here, over there, and behind here were all holding gardens for hostas. Well, I'm digging up all my holding gardens. My daughters helped dig up these plants, and I'm potting them, and I used to divide, because I have over 4,000 hostas in over 650 varieties. So I have varieties people have never seen, and I used to divide those more. But at this point, I am done with my selling, other than if I have, for instance, next year a new garden that I dig up and I have a lot of nice plants, I might just send out a message that I'm doing a open house day one day, if I do that. So anyway, you can see what it's like in there, and it's pretty dark. You look, there's shade everywhere. But I'll show you the plants that
Oh, he's no dummy.
all right. You see this tree right here? Have any idea what it might be? I might tell you later. Here's another coleus, one of my favorites, but it can't take full sun, and it gets some bright shade, and that's where it does the best. This is just a little garden that... This garden, I dug it all up last year and put back small pieces, so that hopefully I don't have to dig it up again. Some interesting plants right here. This one is Dream Queen, and it's one of my favorites, a slow grower. Here's a couple of nice ones too. This is Pathfinder, and this is Whirlwind. And over there is my last collection, and it's, Ghost Spirit. Here's one of the most famous hostas right here, and it's
this one here?
Yeah, June. Now, you see all the hostas here that are variegated? All you're going to get in return are either all green, all blue, or all yellow. Variegation doesn't pass on. So you need to have a special plant that you would use to develop a variegated one. And I'll show you one that's like that. Here is again that Lakeside Paisley print, which you can see is smaller here, and it gets quite a bit of sun where that one gets less. So, oh, and notice too, all the pine cones, they drop all season long.
These are really big pine trees above us here, aren't
Yeah. So, but the plants don't mind the pine cones. I mind seeing them dirty like that, but sometimes I'll take my hose and wash them off. That plant right back there is a Persicaria, and it's called Painter's Palette. Now, a lot of the Persicarias are very invasive. This one isn't at all. However, it does drop seeds, and if you look in here, you can see there are some babies. To solve the problem that you don't have any like of those, just cut the flowers off before they go to seed. This one right here is another Hosta of the year, and it's Patriot.
This big fella.
Yeah, and I didn't dig this one up. A few of them I didn't dig up last year because I just want that one to have its glory. Here's a Ligularia, Pandora's Box. It's a miniature one. And here's a epimedium that I bought last year. And it's so different than other epimediums that I just wanted it. Now right here, if you look at all the plants here, all the variegated ones, do you see how the leaves are mostly just the same on any of them? Over here is an example. Here is an example down here. However, this plant is one of the breeding plants. You can see the leaves haven't done what they call set. Those other ones that you see, the leaves have set, meaning that's the way they're going to be. These are not. So to get a new hosta, you can take a flower from some other plant you want. Either you want it to be made bigger or smaller or fragrant or whatever. You take a flower and come and rub it against a flower here, and then in the fall you would collect the seeds and plant them in the spring and see what you get. So here's another June. Now, what they did with June, they took a flower and made June. Then June was such a popular plant. It's a hosta of the year, one of the most famous ones. And they took a flower and went to that breeding plant, rubbed the flower together, and something else came out. And what came out was called a sport of June. That other plant that was the sport of June was also a beautiful hosta. I've got some if I remember to show you. And they took flowers from that and went and rubbed the flowers together with the breeding plant. And what came next was a sport of that June sport. And the lineage falls back. So it would still be, even though it was the other sport, the other plant that June made, now that plant has a sport, and now June has two sports. And they kept doing that. Here's another hosta of the year. It's called Victory. Here's another hosta of the year back here, which is one of the old ones that probably most of you have. It's Gold Standard. There's a huge oak tree. Oh, there it is right there. And it had so many acorns this year that I've weeded through this a number of times, but every time I come back, I find yet another acorn that has turned into an oak seedling. And I'm pulling them out, and you can see there, some of them, if they get this long, they're sometimes pretty tough to pull out. Not close. As you can see, I can have a deer problem. However, my other beds don't have any of the deer problem because I use a product that's called Bobbex, B-O-B-B-E-X. And it lasts for about 6 weeks. It can be rained on and it doesn't wash off. But I decided to leave this whole row along here as food for the deer. And they come and eat this, but they leave the other alone. This hosta right here is in the full sun. When it's in the full sun, it turns a little yellow like that, but it's a hosta that does, one of the hostas that does well down south because it can take the heat. And it also, in my garden, it's in full sun. It's called Plantaginia, and it's a fragrant, one of the fragrant original hostas. Sometimes with daylilies, it's hard to tell the difference between one that is just opening up and one that looks like it might be opening up. The way to tell is if you rub it, it's wet. So you just take that one and put it down. Yes. You see, like this. I guess most of the ones, though, that are ready to open have already opened for the day. I'll do that again sometime. In here, everything in here this spring was daylilies. Hundreds, thousands of daylilies. And I decided I just didn't want to deal with the ones that were in here anymore. And I decided I will try to turn it into a butterfly, bee, hummingbird. And then for the fall, these right here for the blue jays, they're sunflowers. Pretty close together. You come, bee balm. This is a nice bright bee balm. And from here, these two, these are a nice plant. They're variegated, as you can see, and they have little blue flowers on them all summer long. And it's called Apple of Peru. I don't know the science name. So, making it for this year, I'm put in some zinnias, which I'm not sure if the bees like them, but I know they like cosmos, and those are basically gone by, but I have a whole new set to replace them. They're hollyhock mallow. They're really very nice. I collect the seeds every year and then start them in the spring in my greenhouse. Here are the hollyhocks. Now in the past, my hollyhocks have always turned rust right away, but these are not the best, but here's a fire pit that I made back probably 25 years ago. And you can see in there I haven't been dealing with it, but by the end of summer I'm planning on having everything in there that's weed, daylilies, and getting rid of it. This one right here, which is tangerine, is a very early, the earliest daylily I have. However, it has so many buds on them that they just keep coming. It's a nice one. However, it's probably one of the first to be done blooming. You see in there, I know it's a mess, but those are some of the leaves I collect, because if you look down and see right here, I cover all my gardens with leaves, and I use a pretty thick amount of them. So, and that keeps the weeds down. However, I see a couple here, but you can't put the leaves in between. Keeps the weeds down, keeps the moisture in, keeps the plants clean. Up here's my work area. Back here I have literally hundreds of plants that I've got to, I have to pot. And over here, it was going to be a root cellar, but time I was doing it, my daughters were in college, and it was like, well, a root cellar is ridiculous for Irene and I, so I turned it into my compost pit. This is another little garden that I don't do much with. However, that hosta right there is one of my favorite. It's called Irish Luck, and I'm going to dig it up and actually have some pieces of that for sale. These I'm having a big sale because I literally want to get rid of all my hostas, except for, of course, the ones in the gardens. And so, for instance, this one right here would be 16 less 15%, which makes it $13.80. I think, yeah, $13.80. That one has a few slug holes, but you'll notice that very few of my plants have any slug holes. And the reason is because I use a product. It's called Corey's Snail and Slug Treatment, and they're little pellets, and I just come in, I throw them in like that. This garden I dug up completely. I think it was 3 years ago. It may be 4 years ago now, but look at it. It is so packed that there are hostas and plants that are hiding underneath other hostas. So I don't know if I'll get to this one this year, but I am going to dig it all up, and then this time I'll put no more than 2 eyes of each of the plants back, so that I know that's it for me. Because if it goes another 3 or 4 years, I'll be in my early to mid 80s. Here's the Ligularia. This one happens to be called Desdemona. Over there, there's another one that has the leaf right by the barn there, or this shed. And that one's called Othello. This one is called the Rocket. And this one over here is called Bottleneck. And this one right here is called Dragon's Breath. I have about 13 varieties of Ligularia. So this garden here is going to be completely dug up. That a nice plant. I really like those that are that green with the beautiful goldish ivory beside them.
What is that spiderwebby looking one?
Oh, yeah, in there. See, it's so overgrown. This plant's covering it. It's one of the brunarias. And here is another one that I like so much because of the shiny leaves. But look, there's stuff underneath it and that's a Pomerania.
That one with the spots?
Yep, shiny with the spots. You see over there the tall grass?
Yes.
That grass has the fun name. It's Machanthus giganthus, and it's a grass, and you can see how large it gets. I have three types of grasses that I have for sale. This is one right here, which is called Chinese silvergrass, and it has that type of spots. Here and here are one of the Machanthus giganthus. And back when I retired, which was going on 17 years, up in Windsor, we had a nice garden that was called Cider Hill Gardens. And I bought 2, and they had to dig them up, and then they called me. Well, 2 eyes back then were $18. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm charging for that 16 less 15%. Here's another Ligularia, and this one is called Cafe Noir. It's they spell it Noir, and someone told me it was French, and basically that's what they told me, how to pronounce it. These are all ones that are for sale, but by the time I have my sale now in a couple weeks, this will more than double, probably as much as triple, because of all the plants I'm digging up and potting. These here are some of my coleus.
Wow.
These right here too are some of the logs in the woods that I find. I drill a hole and I put in mini hostas in it. This is school mouse ear. This is sun mouse ear. Here's a blue mouse ear, which is the most famous one. So, and you can see I have a lot of plants that make for very good companion plants. And what I mean by that is if you just have the hostas, it's more interesting if you have like some ligularia, or here's another one, ligularia, which is, oops, I don't have the name here and I can't pronounce it. It starts with a P and it has a bunch of Z's in it. So, if we go over here, here's a ginger too. I have 4 types of gingers, and this one is called upright ginger, and it's has flowers profusely in the spring, but then all summer we'll have them like that. Over in here is another garden, but I'm kind of not made it very available by having all these different plants here. Like these right here are $7.50 with the discount, so they would be. Here's a famous hosta. It's called Abacoa drinking gourd, and you can see why it was named that. Here are a bunch more plants. Like this one is a hosta of the year. It's called Crossa Regal, and has a nice blue-green leaf, and it has a nice white underneath it. And this is 16 less the 15% discount. Here's where my main upright, ginger.
Those things.
This is my upright ginger. This, about 8 years ago I had it, and I had a lot of them, and I didn't care to deal with it. And I just threw it there, and it's done very well. Now this garden, last fall, late in the fall, I dug it completely up, and see, I replaced with just one eye. Well, I guess this one has 2 eyes, but I replaced them not with a lot, but with, and hopefully I won't have to deal with this garden again. But even next year they're going to be touching. In the following year it will be pretty tight once again. This hosta is called Princess U, and they claim it's the largest hosta, but I have some that I think are even bigger than this. This is another famous hosta. It's called Sub in Substance, and Sub in Substance has tons of spores, meaning they took a flower from that and went and made it. They even tried to make one of those that would have a fragrant hosta. Now, to get that fragrant hosta, you need to take a flower from Plantaginia and rub it on the breeding plant, and then those might be fragrant. This in here, you can see, is so overgrown. So it's coming up. Over here, these are Othello ligularia, and they pretty much come up. They're seeds. They drop the seeds, and some people have said, "Ugh, I hate those things because they come up everywhere." Well, I like them, so I let them be. But if you don't want them, they're very easy to pull out and get rid of. Over here, I named this garden Angelica because all the angelica that are in here, those plants bloom towards the middle to end of August, and they get quite tall. They have a purple flower, and they self-seed. And if they're not in the way, I just let them go, because again, I like them. But I pull out probably 200 every year. You see, here's one that also, but I didn't mind it there. This is one of my roots that I put plants in. This is a nice little mini garden, and you can see right there is another oak seedling. This garden, these gardens down here get between 6 and 6.5 hours of hot midday sun. Some of the plants get a little burnt, but I found if I let them stay there and they don't get so bad that they're going to die, they kind of develop themselves so that they can take more sun. This garden right here, all of this garden is coming out. It's how I'm trying to cut back. My wife and kids are constantly on me, "Dad, you've got to cut back." Well, what have you got to cut back? I decided, well, I could cut back on this garden. Here's a log that I found, and I drilled holes in it, and all of these are mouse ears. So there's the blue mouse ear, and another one, and they're all in there. And see the cat up here watching them. Little garden, I won't get rid of this. But back here is a plant that is underestimated, I believe. It has that blue-green leaf. It has a profusion of flowers, and it's called reptilian, and it becomes a very nice plant. Okay, and out here, I have this pond. I guess it could be called a swamp or a bog or something. I like calling it a bog. I have quite a few lilies, lily pads. Some have started to bloom over there. They bloom for a long time. This is one of the plants I got because of the blue leaf. Its science name I don't remember, but it's some type of poppy. It doesn't have a very nice flower, but it makes a nice division for. This plant here is one of those sort of Heliopsis that's called a cup plant, and it has the flower, and it has really an awful lot of flowers. They keep coming up for probably a good 5-6 weeks. And the reason it's called the cup plant is because if you look right down in there, it's like a cup. This plant right here is avocado, and it's a fragrant one. Here's my T-Rex ovum, and found that nice stone, and I spotted it so it would be. And there's Thor. See how green Othello is. It's a nice dark green. It's purple underneath. Oops. But there's a very nice plant, a plant of the year. It's Forest Sunrise. So I've got to get rid of some of those Ligularia. Here's a garden I dug up last year, but I didn't put back just 1 or 2 eyes, and so I'll be probably having to dig this one up again before I die. Oh, see these plants right in my... I'll be potting this plant this size, and it will be 18 less 15%. So it's, what's that make it? 1590 or so? All these. Now you know where we were and where it was so dark, and I told you I had dug them all up. These are some of the plants that I dug up from there. And you can see, even though they were in full shade, they're still quite nice. However, hostas want some sun all winter long, and I used to sell a lot, but selling became more work than I wanted to do with, so now I just paint. And my kids and grandkids, they all have more watercolor paintings of mine. This garden is one that I semi-dug up last year, but you can see it needs to be dug up again and put back just 1 eye, no more than 2. Here's one of my favorite ferns. It's parsley fern. This Ligularia here, you saw how green Othello's leaf was. Well, this one is dark green, dark purpley green, and it's called Britt Marie Crawford, and it's a Ligularia. Again, I have over 650 varieties, so I have gardens that they might not be the same plant anywhere else. These were, I thought they were going to be peach trees, but it turned out they're plum, even though they're sprigs from the peach tree, but they planted the peach tree, grafted it onto a plum plant. That's still be with a nice red flower. This plant right here, I'm going to dig up a few of them. It's called, I'm going to picture this because I don't, it's one of the Roger plants. Somebody told me it's a French word, and Rogeria, but I have that type, and I have these green ones. These have white flowers which have gone by, and again, this garden, I've done through it twice, and I'm going to go through it again because of all those darn acorns. See, all of these are acorn trees. This, I call it the hilltop garden. If you look at this plant, you see the dark green and the good, nice yellow going down through the center. That is called Broad Street. Right here is another one of those Ligularia Cafe Noir small leaf. Here's what typical epimedium looks like, but I showed you the one over there that was coarse, and it didn't look like one to me. Here's a neat plant right up here. This is another one of the Rogerias. This garden I completely dug up probably 4 or 5 years ago now, but it has just, it doesn't look nice at all to me. Some people say, older people have said, oh no, I love it like that because it cuts down on the weeds. which is true. But individual plants have a problem. Right here is a hosta, and the name of it is Kiwi Full Monty. And what's unique about it are these white lines that go down between the darker blue-green and the yellow. I have the guy who developed this. I have 4 that are like it, different plants. Here is another one, and you can see how the line goes down through it. That plant is Hanky Panky. And unfortunately, these apple trees got that disease back about 8 years ago, and the leaves just keep falling, which is discouraging. But sometimes if I want it to look really nice, I'll take my hose and wash them all off. This is Blue Mammoth. It's a gigantic hosta. It has tremendous amount of seeds from it. And what I'll do is, I don't want any of those seeds to be, now if those seeds dropped, it would make a plant like this. It's for the variegated, you need that special one. Now, this was just like over there. And it's, but I dug it up, and you can see sparsely put back together, but I think it's really nice this way. Looks much better. You can see individual plants. I did not dig that one up, and I won't, but I dug things that were hidden all over and through here. Now, I told you about Kiwi Full Monty, then Hanky Panky. This one is Strip Tease. It looks like Kiwi Full Monty, but it's a smaller plant. This one over here, you can see just a little of the white, and this one's called Gypsy Rose. Right here is a nice big hosta. It's called Guardian Angel. Now, my daughter has some of those, and they've gotten enormous. I haven't had good luck with those. So, but that one looks like it's doing okay, so I leave it. I didn't dig that one up. So, that's a picture of the garden. I hope you enjoyed the tour of my gardens that we just were seeing. We are now in our dining room, my wife and I, and we're making a shorter version of that video to use as an ad for the upcoming open houses, which will be on July 25th, Saturday, and July 26th, Sunday. Those will be from 10 to 2:30 in the afternoon. My address is 37 Carvel Lane, Plainfield, New Hampshire. In the future, if I'm digging up a big garden and I have all kinds of plants, I'll just put it on my YouTube that I'm having one, let's say August 25th. The hostas and plants I have for sale are from $10 to $18 with a 15% discount, which makes the most expensive one $15.30 and the cheapest one $7.50. Because I have, like I've told you, 650 varieties and hundreds of companion plants, you'll find that there's far more hostas than you have ever seen, varieties and companion plants. I am digging up all of my holding gardens. Those are gardens that when I dug up a plant and I wanted to let it grow in a holding garden rather than in one of my show gardens, I'm digging all those up, and some of those plants are really big. and there'd be 18, 15, 30 with the discount. Why am I doing that? I could, in the past, I would make a lot of divisions and sell them for 16, but I want to get rid of, I just want to now enjoy my gardens and not be pressured for open houses and all of that. More importantly, I'll be making a number of videos that I'll be posting on my YouTube channel, showing you some of the tricks I've learned over the years. Perhaps a video on even something like 10 hostas and going and taking a nice close-up of them and telling you what I like about them, what I found they need to be good, to grow well, things like how much light they like and so on. Also, I have a garden that has between 6 and 6.5 hours of hot midday sun, and how I've worked to get some of those plants adjusted to that much sun. Other things that I would be talking about is how I weed. I'm a good weeder. How I collect the leaves in the woods. You can follow me on YouTube at the link that's provided on the screen. Thank you again, and hope to see you on the upcoming open houses or any time that you would just like to come and see the gardens. Thanks again.